Every journey begins in the mind.
He's dead? Not anymore.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I'm gonna carve my family's legacy into your flesh.
Comes from the mind of a man with a little imagination.
After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
The Mutilator.
From the makers of RE-ANIMATOR, From Beyond.
Buzzkill.
No? Okay, it's not happening. What do I know? So the way we're going to be moving this along is this is JK. He's from HorrorHappens Radio.
JK!
Woo! And he's going to be bringing guests down here. Yep. And we're going to do, they're going to intro the film. He's going to ask some questions. Then after that is done, we're going to start the movie. So if you have questions for them, you can go and visit them at their vendor table.
The Buzzkill.
Alright, so we're going to start a short in a couple minutes from it's called Buzzkill. So, yeah. Wait, Collin, come on down. Collin Major is the effects guy and the actor from the short we're going to watch.
Collin. What was that?
What's the concept behind Buzzkill?
Okay, cool. So, in college, me and my best friend, we were watching a lot of horror movies, and we watched Death Wish 3 and Falling Down. And I've been straight edge my whole life, so I thought, wouldn't it be rad if there was a straight edge Falling Down? So I came up with that idea, cut to 2013. My friend said, hey, I wrote a script for this movie you came up with. And I was like, weird. And he said, you're the main actor, and we're gonna make this trailer all summer long. So we made a trailer for the film that is yet to be made. We have an Indiegogo for it. It's buzzkillthemovie.com. We raised I think about $3,000 so far.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool, and I just got the script for the feature film, so we're looking at investors right now, and we're gonna make this crazy movie that we made in 3 minutes. It cost $100 bucks, but it looks like it cost more, I promise.
What'd you spend $100 on?
I had long hair when we started the shoot, and I cut my hair in the middle of the shoot and got yelled at really bad. So we had to buy a $75 wig.
Wow. So the budget was on hair.
What's up?
Hair and makeup.
Yeah. Pretty much hair. Everything
Those
else,
greedy bastards.
Everything else we've had from like making movies, like and throughout our friendship, we reuse like the same actors, the same heads, the same like everything pretty much.
And are you going to shoot the film in Chicago, or are you going to do it here?
It's going to be shot in Chicago. So that should be really, really fun. We actually had a chainsaw buzzsaw fight in a train while I was moving in Chicago. That was really scary.
And you got your experience doing makeup and masks from where?
I went to the Tom Savini School for Special Makeup Effects. I graduated in 2008. I actually have a table out there. I have a company called Crimson Mask Studios. I got a couple of my masks, some Jason replicas, and some RE-ANIMATOR props up there.
Cool, and so you did live in Chicago and you did some stuff in Florida?
Yeah, I used to work at a company called Syndaver Labs. We make synthetic human cadavers for medical research.
My old job.
Yeah, it was a cool job. I did it for a while, but it kind of wasn't for me. I like making monsters and stuff, so I moved back here. I have a studio now here in Syracuse, New York, and then this whole year we're going to be making masks, getting ready for Halloween and convention season.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add about who's the director? And
so it's directed by my best friend. His name's Kyle Williamson. He couldn't make it here today because he's working on, I don't know, some Chicago TV show. I'm not sure what he's working on. But he's there working on that. And yeah, he directed it. I acted in it. I came up with the story and shot in Chicago. Pretty rad.
Watching the 3-minute trailer remind me of Hobo with a Shotgun in a way.
What was that?
Hobo with a Shotgun, watching the trailer.
Oh yeah, definitely. We definitely went for Hobo with a Shotgun feel to it. We just wanted, we wanted to look not like a trailer, like there was actual scenes that we cut from. We actually wrote a screenplay for the trailer, wrote like a really short screenplay, and then kind of added those scenes in, and then he actually added everything you see in the trailer, he actually added in the new screenplay that I just got the other day, so that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So give it up for Collin. I'm going to run upstairs and play this trailer for us, and then we'll go right into Critters.
Beware the buzzkill.
Welcome to Chicago. The murder capital of America. These are the scumbags. This ruthless gang has taken over the city, and it's their kind of town. A new drug plagues the streets.
What is this? It comes from the mind of a man with a little imagination.
As the scumbags pollute the windy city with their addictive and diabolical narcotics, he lived a drug-free life.
Can I get you something to drink?
Yeah, I'll have a beer. Root beer.
Until he was beaten, poisoned, and left for dead.
Drugs are cool.
Pushed to the limits of insanity.
Hey, I said no drugs.
He ended up in a living hell.
Just another junkie.
No more drugs.
Take the drugs.
No more drugs.
Take the drugs.
No more drugs. No more drugs.
Now, back on the streets.
Hey, you want a hit?
He's coming after them, one by one. Carving a path of revenge with a straight edge. Every doper, smoker, and drinker you get high for that ultimate thrill. Beware.
I'm too high to die.
The Buzzkill.
The Mutilator.
And we're going to bring up the director, Buddy Cooper, of Mutilator, and the special effects man, Edmund. That's right, where are they?
Right here.
Come on up, gentlemen. A round of applause for these two. I am JK from Horror Happens. We're going to get this going in just a few minutes. Gentlemen, first of all, how's it feel to be out here and, from what Jeff has told me, putting together this cut of The Mutilator?
You can't believe everything Jeff said.
Oh my God, Jeff, the credibility is going down the hill here. Having a cut like this where adding in those aspects that really couldn't be brought in during the 80s, during that time, how does it feel for everyone to see that today?
It's going to feel good. Jeff had a cut print, the R-rated version, and when he invited us to come here, he wanted to know if I had the pieces that had been cut out, the good scenes.
Right.
And I did. I had saved them all. He wanted to know if I'd sent some to him and he would splice them into his R-rated print to reconstitute the unrated print, which is done.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So far as I know, this is the only unrated print in existence. I had one, but it got lost somewhere along the way. And I think it feels about the same way.
Yeah.
I was the one that took it. I had to cut the scenes out the MPAA didn't like and splice it back together, so I too am interested to see it.
Yeah, they didn't like all the good parts.
There you go. There you go. So, you know what, we're going to share off here. So, when it comes to the Mutilator,
questions and y'all
I was going to say, yeah, we'll take role reversal here. With the Mutilator, it's a much different feel to it because you're on an island, you're by an ocean. You guys, it really was different than what we saw in the 80s with the forest, with the neighborhood. Had a different feel, a different sense of isolation. Can you talk about that, buddy?
Well, we live at the beach, Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. It's a very popular place, but it's also a seasonal place.
Right.
And, Labor Day weekend is one of the big weekends. Labor Day weekend is elbow to elbow people.
Right.
Tuesday, following Labor Day of whatever year it was.
Empty as a graveyard.
I was walking on the beach with a friend and there was nobody. The day before you couldn't take a step without stepping on somebody, and the next day just miles of nothing. And it occurred to me that might be a good spot, a good location to have a group of young people become isolated and hunted by a maniacal killer, and that was the beginning of it.
With the aspect of the killer, when you became a part of this project, having no mask for the killer and the aspect of the brutality of the kills, was that something that you felt as a real challenge with this film? Edmund?
I always thought that was Buddy was the killer. I felt like
he's got that look of him.
He didn't want a mask, but yeah, it was.
If I could cut your pay now.
The isolation of the place is what he started. And I don't know, it's the guy's father. You see right off the bat who it is.
Right, exactly.
So why put a mask on him?
Wow. Well, and that's, when it comes to this film, The Mutilator, you guys shot right from the moment. And then it's about a half an hour before you develop it. Kind of develop it, has that 80s vibe of like the romantic comedy to it. Something you'd see from, I don't know, something like A Summer School, something like that, and then it moves into more of the horror essence of it. The idea of having that shock moment, the killing of the mother, the aspect of children with guns, nowadays that would be taboo. Back then it was really sensational and shocking. Why go with something like that?
Why'd you do that, buddy?
If I understand the question, it was my goal when I was writing it to start slow and have it build to a high-pitched ending. And I think that's the way it turned out. In retrospect, I think it started a little bit too slow.
Okay.
I would have started it at a faster pace and maintained that pace throughout, I think. But it was, I just felt like it was something that should start small and build to something big, and that's what we did.
Even still, he's talking about killing the mother.
Right at the beginning.
Making a birthday cake.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing in this case with it.
We didn't have any children to kill. It came later.
You know what? That sign in the opening scene, the sign with happy birthday, we cleaned the gun, was that something that was written in there, or was that something that came about on set?
No, that was written, that was scripted.
That was scripted with it?
So it just so happens that in going through a lot of the leftover stuff from making the movie recently, I came across that sign and I've got it in my file. And I was glad to find that.
You put it on the door if no one wants to bother you, we know.
No, that's mine.
Nice. Hey, you know what? When you look at it, that era of the 80s was synonymous for slashers, for blood and guts, for practical effects. We see this with The Mutilator, especially as you move into the second act and definitely into the third act. You guys take the kitchen sink and just literally throw it at everyone that comes up there. Some of the practical effects, the murders and stuff like that, how cool was it to be a part of that and see that kind of design of those where you have the chest sliced open, you know, to the face and stuff like that, the mache face? How cool was that to be a part of that?
It was cool.
Yeah.
Well, we liked it, and Mark Schuster did a marvelous job. He kept ordering K-Rose syrup and red food dye the whole time. I don't know, Ed can tell us how many gallons of the stuff he mixed. I don't know how much it was, but along the way somewhere the cast and crew started calling me Bloody Buddy.
Nice.
We just poured it everywhere. How much of that stuff did y'all make?
I don't know. We probably 10, 12 gallons at the end of it. Remember, we were on the beach, and it kept soaking in the sand. I think you'll see something in this outtake. Even Mark, we had to keep painting the severed head to toss it down. You'll see that in a few minutes.
Yeah, you will.
So keep touching it up. The whole thing was supposed to be nautical, and that's why you have the gaff hook, the gig, the outboard motor, and that type of thing.
It's amazing with the beach, and I'm glad you bring it up because, you know, it's, again, a completely different dynamic than the neighborhood or the forest or a boil room, which were in the 1980s synonymous with, you know, the slasher kind of film, the slasher settings. Was there any other challenges besides the sand that you guys found on that island when it came to the practical effects of the Mutilator?
Weather was a problem. We had a couple of storms, and we were shooting inside. Peter Schnall, the DP, was trying to make a lighting effect.
Right.
And he said, buddy, first we take out the real sun and we put in our sun. So they put up these black, I forgot what you call them, cloth.
Black it out.
And put up scaffolding with big lights shining in to make the light so it would stay the same during the shoot, during the sequence. And I remember one day we had a bad storm came up, and these things were about to blow down. We had to fight the weather.
Wow.
And we were shooting a lot of this at night, and we had to fight the coming dawn, trying to make a night scene with the sun coming up. They kept putting up more black cloth and more black cloth. Particularly, that was a struggle in the last shot, the last scene when Big Ed gets it.
Look, you said we put the kitchen sink in. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was part of the kitchen counter that didn't get in. There were a couple of effects that didn't make it. You'll see that Francis is in the swimming pool.
Right.
There was an entire effect that Mark and I worked on just as hard as we could, and it came to the time of shooting it, and it just wasn't going to work.
Wait a minute. The gag was that Francis is in the swimming pool and a spear shoots up through her body.
Right.
The problems open up, she looks down, blood is gushing, and the spear gets pulled against her flesh, and she gets pulled under the pool. Well,
wow, no good.
The sun was coming up.
Go ahead.
And Ed and Mark came out and said, "Bud, we got to tell you something."
We were towing the carpet.
Good.
It's not going to work. And
we were behind schedule, waiting to shoot.
As always.
And Buddy famously said, "We drown her."
Mark said, "We can't make it work. We can't make it work." I said, "All right, we'll drown her."
We drown her with it. Well, I think that's one of the most impactful kills you guys have, because in the editing, it's slow, the hands come up, and it's very reminiscent of that decade with the way that you built that suspense around the kill, around that building to the moment. And it's a nice break from the practical effects that we see through the majority of the film, which complements it wonderfully. How do you guys feel that the practical effects of the Mutilator stands up to that decade and the way practical effects are now?
I didn't understand the question.
How do you feel the practical effects basically stand up today?
I think they stand up well, frankly.
We'll find out in a minute.
We'll find out, the crowd out there. So.
Well, that wasn't the only gag that didn't work.
That's enough on the gags that didn't work, I think.
Fair enough.
A lot of it did. It was a little bit ambitious.
Yeah.
And so, what was the other one that didn't work?
The Maury was...
Well, we have a reel that's going to play before this, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Can you tell the folks out there about what they're going to see before the Mutilator?
Jeff got an outtake reel from us, and it's in negative, which, it's just what it sounds like. We all know what a negative looks like, so you're going to see the negative of some of the outtakes of the Mutilator. It's interesting, and you'll see several takes of a particular shot as it's done over and over and over, where we were trying to get it right. and ultimately did, but you won't see that one. That one's in the movie. The outtake reel is just going to be an interesting piece of what goes on when you make a movie.
Wonderful, wonderful. Guys, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Buddy Cooper, Edmund Ferrell. Hang tight, we're going to go ahead, play the reel, and then we've got the Mutilator coming up. Here we go.
Thank you. Fall break.
All right. Gonna be a good time. That was a slate. I guess everybody knows what that is. I wanted his hand sliding down this bare wood handrail. Kind of makes, I don't know about the rest of it, it makes me feel kind of antsy thinking about splinters. This is the famous hook scene, or preparatory, the beginning of it. That's Sue, she's about to die.
Where's the battle axe now, buddy?
That's Biggie. Here Pam is looking for Ralph or somebody, and Ralph has hung this dummy up and surprises her. I think we get to see this from the reverse in a second.
How many takes did this scene?
I don't know why we had so much trouble with it.
This was very tight quarters in a hallway. You'll see it later. And there's 10 or 12 people just crammed up in the corner. You may notice the slate guy sort of squats down just to get out of the way. So once we got the camera up there, we shot plenty.
This might be the reverse. No.
Does this actually bring back a lot of memories for you guys? The way that this is shot?
It's the reverse.
That's the reverse for it.
It's unusual to see it as a negative.
Right, exactly right. It adds a different flavor, a different feel to it altogether. Does the aspect of a scare like that, with the opening of the door and the dropping of the body, was that something that was planned out and written throughout the Mutilator, to have those kind of scares, that kind of timing? Did it translate?
I think so, yeah. He's talking about the fake scares. Or
like what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Called them boos at that time.
Nice.
B-double-O.
Was there any particular casting, any special casting? What was...
Casting?
Yeah, the casting, yes. What was it like for the casting of the Mutilator? Because we see certain scenes in here, and it has that teen comedy kind of feel, but, you know, the characters seem to be an interesting choice. Talk about the casting as we're watching this.
I'll jump to the very end of the casting. We had all the roles filled except Ralph.
Right.
And we're about 2 days away from beginning. I think the special effects crew was in town working on it at that time, and I was in my office. This is Sue loses her head here. I was in my office with Ben Moore, the guy who played the deputy, lamenting the fact that we didn't have a Ralph yet, a key role. And my secretary came in and said, "There's a guy out here, here's you're making a movie, wants to be in it." Yeah, well, send him in. And in walked Bill Hitchcock, who was a magician at the time, had the patter, And I said, well, show us a couple of card tricks. He said, I don't have any cards. Well, I happen to have a deck at my desk, and gave it to him, and he could make those things walk and talk. I mean, he did some card tricks that were phenomenal.
Wow.
And he always had this pattern going the whole time. And I looked at Ben, and I said, this guy is Ralph. And you're hired. So that's the way we got Ralph. He just walked in off the street, and he was perfect.
Wow. The aspect of the title, Fall Break?
The title was supposed to subliminally put you on edge, falling, breaking, and it's also the time of year when students get out of school. The sequel, of course, was going to be Spring Break. But the distributor didn't like it. We had to change the name along with everything else for advertising and for salesmanship. And I think Mutilator is probably a better title.
Yeah, I would say so also.
Jeff asked about these little spots in this shot. This is a deputy. It's not long before he gets it. The camera we were using was an Ariflex, and it has a three-corner iris, which makes the lights in the background have this little odd shape.
The closeness of the shot compared to the ocean behind it, and the island where you look out into the ocean and it's so dark, it's a hell of a contrast, and it really builds that tension.
Well, it looks better in positive than negative.
I don't know. It looks pretty. It looks like there's a lot going on with this. In fact, it looks like he's kind of lost in. It looks almost like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it looks solarized.
Solarized. That's a great word for it.
When you see the actual film, you may recognize Ben Moore. Was in a couple of Herschel Gordon Lewis movies. He's a big player in 2000 Maniacs. And he was able to hit his mark. Here we're trying to get Ben's head to fall into the camera just right.
Right.
That's his flashlight on the
And you can see touching the blood up just every time. The sand was soaking the blood up so much. The one that falls right is in the movie.
Was the idea of the flashlight part of the way it was? It was, okay.
Yeah, trying to get the head to fall so the flashlight just shines on it.
Wow.
The one time it happened is in the real movie. He looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it does, actually. Got this come out. Where did the influence for the practical effects come from? Where did you draw from, Edmund?
Buddy had written most of those effects.
Okay.
He's talking about the origin of the effect.
Yeah.
And honestly, Mark Sjostrom really brought it to life.
Okay.
As part of the team with him. This was shot many times. The camera operator had been away from his wife.
Oh, Lord.
Insisted on these retakes.
Wow.
Connie in her nightgown. This is just before she gets it.
She gets concerned and goes out to look for Ralph.
The aspect of nudity in the film, you talked about the pool scene before. Was that something for a film of the 80s, the nudity was needed as a selling element because a lot of the other films had done it?
Well, it was popular. It was one of the things I liked about this kind of movie. And
even the negative looks
we
amazing.
didn't have quite enough in our movie.
We're eager to see the film. I don't remember if the book scene is actually in there.
But I remember. She looks at her watch. I remember that part. Maybe the book got cut. She was holding it upside down, I think.
Yeah. Was that house a challenge to shoot in? Because you talked about the cramped spot before.
Very tight quarters. We stored a lot of the blood and stuff in the refrigerator, which the crew objected to. They had their sandwiches in there.
Right. These negatives, wow. Nothing like the 35 millimeters, see that grain to it. It enhances everything with it. Is that the way you guys feel the mutilator should be seen? Up here on the screen versus more of a restored feel to it?
Yeah, he wants to know how you feel looking at it restored on the screen versus the...
Well, this is hardly a good test of it right now. It's more like Science Fiction Theater 2017.
We're prepping the audience for...
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch it. I haven't, and neither Ed nor I have seen it on a screen in a long time.
Wow. When was the last time?
The last time I saw it, it was played at the RKO in New York City.
Wow.
And I saw it several times.
That's probably the last time I saw it, 42nd Street.
Unbelievable, 30 years, 1984, right? For it.
That's right.
Yeah, over 30, almost 35, it's gonna be up 35 soon. Did you guys run into any issues, even though it's after Labor Day, even though it's supposed to be pretty isolated and quiet? Did you guys run into anything offset?
Buddy, tell them about the library shop.
Yeah, we were, where the kids get in their car and get ready to leave.
Right.
Outside Halleck Hall. That's my daughter's name, incidentally, Halleck.
Nice.
That was a library in Morehead City, which we put signs up for. And in the next block, they were building a retirement home, and they had problems with water flooding the basement. And they had a pump running the whole time, which interfered with sound. And we called the people, and they said, just give us a sign, we'll send the guy over. And so we would wave, and in the next block, the guy would wave back and shut the pump off.
Right.
So we could record sound, and when the thing was over, we'd wave, he'd turn the pump back on. And we were just getting ready to shoot one of the scenes, and there's a train track runs down the middle of the street in Morehead City, and a train was coming through. The police were very helpful. I called the chief and to remind him that we needed some traffic control. He said he hadn't heard anything about it. When are you coming? The production manager had gotten the call, and I said, we're going to be there in about 15 minutes.
Wow.
And he said, well, I'll see what I can do. And he had a whole squad out there. They were directing traffic, stopping traffic, so we could shoot. And the train started coming through. I said, Chief, can you stop the train? He said, I can't stop it, but I can speed it up. They slow it down as it goes through town. He went out there and speeded the train up. The train flew on through and got out of earshot.
Wait a minute.
And we made it.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mutilator.
What'd he say? 4 days of R&R at the beach. I'm in.
She's in. I'm in. Sounds good to me.
I got a bad feeling about this.
They thought their vacation would be fun. They were wrong. Dead wrong.
He's what's called a trophy hunter.
Bum 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 bum.
Dad used to tell me that he'd hunted everything but man.
Hey.
I'm coming to get you.
the Mutilator.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great time here. The Mutilator, Critters, Buzzkill. We've got a lot more to come. I am JK from HorrorHappens.com. This man needs no introduction, but I will do the best I can. Mr. John Dugan, grandfather from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Let's hear it.
How are y'all doing?
Is everyone doing good? Yeah. So, John, imitation is the best form of flattery. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Over the nearly 40 years, more than 40 years now, how has the film been to see so many people inspired by it, creating art through it?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a shock 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's just like a everyday thing for me now, so I don't think all that much about it. But it's wonderful, 44 years later.
Wow.
We shot in the summer of '73, so almost 44 years later, and here I am in Syracuse at this beautiful old theater talking to fans, it's kind of mind-boggling, really,
Is this a film, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that is seen best up on the screen?
Is it what?
Is this film, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, best seen on 35 mm?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The next best thing after 35 on the screen is an original VHS tape.
Yeah!
And all the subsequent, every time another distributor would pick it up, they'd clean it up just a little more, a little more. Maybe these tape heads just can't, they can't resist, but that's, it wasn't intended to be cleaned up. You get some guy in a dark room with his equipment, he just wants to squeak a little more cleanliness out of it. Where, we shot the thing on 16 and brought up to 35, so it was intended to look that way. That was the look, which makes it so interesting. So the newest 4K, 4G, 4K, whatever it is, copy that just came out a couple years ago is beautiful, but it lost a lot of the grittiness. That sort of just dirty quality. You can see things you've never seen before, but did you need to see them?
No.
Yeah. Wow, I never noticed that lamp back there. It's not really integral to the story or anything. So, 35 is the way to go. Or like I say, the original, really early VHS print, still has that sort of quality. The newer copies of the sound is much better because some of the older stuff you can't really tell what the people are saying. But I was going to tell the story and I totally fucking forgot.
Go ahead.
I had dinner with Danny Pearl 2 years ago in Austin, Texas. Danny was our cinematographer.
Right.
And he had been brought on to do the remake a few years ago. It's the one with Arlie Ermy as the sheriff and Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Right, Michael Bay.
So they wanted him to shoot it, bring back the original cinematographer. And they sat down, he had a meeting with his producers and everything. And they said, we want to get that look, that gritty look, that you created in that first one, that beautiful look that he does. So you want to shoot on 16 millimeter film? They're like, fuck no! Literally, they said, fuck no. And he goes, well, that's the only way you're going to get that look. So,
Yeah.
That was my story.
Well, let me ask you about that, because that grittiness, a lot of times when people have not seen it, they take it as one of the bloodiest films, most violent films of all time. It's really not.
No, there's no blood in it.
No, that's a nothing. But is that something that you've noticed over the years coming to conventions and film festivals like Salt City here, that people, even if they've seen it for the first time or have seen it more, really come up to you and ask that question on where it's all gone?
People are convinced that they see a lot of blood and guts, and there really is very, very little in there. The one scene they always mention is when you see them. Has anybody not seen
That's a good question. Who has not seen it?
Okay.
The little guy up front, I would appreciate
well, I don't want to go into the details.
Tell him the rite of passage.
I don't want to spoil anything. So I have to just stop saying that. I just realized maybe that somebody didn't. Now, how many of you have seen it in a theater before?
Wow.
Wow, I'm impressed. Lots of times nobody does. How many of you saw it at a drive-in the first time?
There you go.
That's the way to do it, Daniel. Got a little fuel, watch a little blood and guts, it's not there.
You know what, John, what is it about horror? Because you, up until you were talking about A Wedding Night and Texas Chainsaw Massacre playing into it, what is it about horror, and especially Texas Chainsaw, that kind of changes the perspective of people where they're able to get some?
I think that fear kicks your endorphins in, you know?
Yeah.
It tickles your pleasure sensors in some way, you know? So, being scared is like being horny, you know? It's like porn and horror goes so well together. Why there's so much tits and ass in porn?
Absolutely.
They kind of go hand in hand. My opinion, I don't know, you know, I didn't do a study on it.
Well, what about Gunner? I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about Gunner with the crowd here and stuff. He's been gone a little bit now. I mean,
he was a big guy. A big, gentle, intelligent man.
Yeah.
And good friend. And I miss him. You know, people say it's sort of a gentle giant kind of character.
Right.
He could get pissed off.
Yeah.
He was just a gentle giant when he was pissed off. Not that he was pissed off a lot, that's what I'm saying, but he could get, you know,
wow.
He could put his foot down on stuff, which was neat. Because if I was involved in it, if we were a con or something wasn't going right. You know, I'm sitting steaming and I was just waiting for him to say something. And then it gets all taken care of.
You know, at Days of the Dead 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when you and Marilyn and Gunner did the panel with Neil Jones about 5 years ago. Yeah, Gunner had talked about the aspect of how he came into his character of Leatherface. You know, being at a disturbed hospital, a mental hospital.
The state hospital.
Right, exactly.
State school.
And emulated what it was. And what about you for grandfather? I mean, was there anything for you with it?
Oh yeah, I went and hung around in nursing homes and slept with ancient women.
Did you?
Yeah.
Got the lay of the land.
Yeah. Some of them pretty hot.
There you go.
I didn't do that stuff. I talked to Kim Henkel a lot, the writer, you know, and he wanted an embryonic old man, a person that was so old they were like a child, and it reverted to, you know, childhood embryo.
Absolutely.
You know, it reversed the cycle, and he. That whole finger sucking scene. He said, have you ever seen a newborn nurse? Wow. On their mother. I said, yeah, I had an older sister who had 3 kids, and I had, you know, okay. Yeah, he says, you know how their whole bodies sort of starts, they get a little excited, and you know, the hands and the feet start going. I said, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's with this film today, you also have Belly Timber. You were a part of Bobby Easley's film.
Yes.
Which will be up next after Texas Chainsaw Massacre. From 35 to digital, as we round it out here, we get ready to stream Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Working on something like Belly Timber after being known for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean,
it's a total disappointment. What a letdown. Bobby, you out there?
No, Bobby's not there. That's why we're questioning. But, you know, that kind of film there, having both of them stream back to back.
No, it's all acting. I mean, I just like to act. I do a sitcom if somebody asks me to. There's nobody has. I think I'd be great in a sitcom, actually, but, you know.
Yeah!
Hey!
There you go. Here's your agent right now.
So, you know, acting is acting. Things out.
Very cool. John Dugan, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America. This is the movie that is just as real, just as close, just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
I'm going to get off the stage. We've got a gentleman come up here to talk about his next film. Gentleman? Well, a gentleman somewhere. He's an officer and a gentleman. Where is he?
Right here.
Oh, come on up. I can see you, barely. Let's hear it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times for Bobby Easley, the creator of
Belly Timber.
Belly Timber. I apologize. I'm not drunk yet.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I have my cast here, and I'd like to bring them up on stage with me, too. Come on up here, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited for you to see the very first test screening of Belly Timber. Yeah, thank you. We've all worked really hard on this picture. It's taken us a couple years to get where we are with it right now. Don't worry, he's not a pro wrestler, he's just cold right now. Yeah, we've worked real hard on this film. It's set in 1820s Indiana. We had the horses, the muskets, the whole 9 yards, and it was a lot of fun to shoot, and we're still not done with it. So please, tear us apart. After we're done with this, we have some questionnaires that we would please ask if every one of you please go and at least fill it out. Will really help us with what we're going to finally do, and you guys might be in a position to help us sculpt this film. You'll go see Solon at our booth after the film. He'll give you a little golf pencil. You can write away. I'm going to turn it over to Dustin real quick and let him say something, and here we go.
I don't really have anything planned to say, but it's a pleasure to be here. I lived up in New York for about 4 years in Fulton, New York, so I got some of my buddies that we used to hang out, and they're all here. And just pretty exciting. It's my first film, and just to be amongst some of the old school American Werewolf in London and Texas Chainsaw. And
here he comes right now.
There's John Dugan right there.
Hey.
He's in our film, and that's I just feel real lucky, and it's been a great project. We've been working on it for about 4 years, and to see it come to light and finally be on the big screen, it's a dream come true. So here's Solon.
How you doing, everybody? It was definitely a pleasure. I've done 2 movies of John Dugan already. This is the first time I'm meeting him, believe it or not. And being in Indiana, I'd say it's the nicest bunch of people. They took care of me, and I think we did a great job on this flick. Absolutely. There's JC right over there. My first, let's say, victim. He sets the tone of the movie, so I'm gonna hand it off to JC. Oh, he doesn't talk. Hey, my pocket just whistled at me. I'm gonna hand it off to JC, who doesn't really speak very much because he's wrapped up in stuff. JC?
We didn't know we were going to be up here talking, so none of us have anything prepared.
That's going to be
We put a lot of work into this movie. We've been traveling all over the Midwest, different conventions. This all happened because of the Days of the Dead convention, so we got to get this out done.
Hey, tell me about the book.
Oh, there's an interesting story about how this came about. There's a book that goes along with the movie. My friend Dusty here, I've known him since we were about yay big. Well, something like that. I was on my way to go see a movie, and he told me about a convention. Went up there and seen it. Walked around, talked to some people. Talked to this guy. Then they met up and turned into, what's it called, a novelization?
Novelization.
You take a screenplay and you turn it into a novelization. And then you have an independent film that has a book along with it. And we have some of those over at the booth. This is Nikki. She wants to say hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi. I don't have anything really to say either. Just I'm really excited to see this screening, and it's been my absolute pleasure to work with everyone on this film.
She's got a cute dress in it too. There's one more thing. Bobby had told me earlier that product placement, the scene where John is reaching for the book, right next to it is another book. That's my book. Thank you, Bobby.
And here's John.
Shit.
Grandpa!
I have not seen this film yet. I haven't seen any of it, really. And I do the kind of wraparound thing. I'm in the very beginning of the film, and I'm then at the end of the film. And my scenes take place in an entirely different century than the other scenes, if that makes any sense to you at all. But I'm excited to see it, and I'd like to thank Bobby and his production company for, over the years, this is the fourth project I've done with Bobby over the last 5 or 6 years. And I want to thank him for helping me make the transition from romantic lead to old man actor. But enjoy the film. I had fun. I think these people and Salon had a great time making it. So, strap yourselves in and enjoy. It's a little on the bloody side, I think.
I think the key phrase is strap yourself on.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to get Belly Timber started here in a couple seconds. Thank you so much.
Well, some people are wanting to call it Mile Square City, and I, for one, am partial to that.
Sadie! Bobby Lee!
Are you saying that people are eating that man's legs? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Is there any of you that would question my authority in leading this family?
I'm gonna carve my family's legacy into your flesh. Ah!
Folks, let me hear some noise. I said, let me hear some noise. Yeah. We're going to start in a few minutes with a special intro and Q&A hosted by Mike Sutton of IMDb with Mr. David Naughton, and we're going to have An American Werewolf in Paris, right? That's the movie you came for, right? you know, when no one's correcting me here, everyone's cackling. We're gonna have American Werewolf in London shortly here. We still have From Beyond, RE-ANIMATOR, and Creeper still to come tonight. Is everyone having a good time here in Salt City? You know, folks, before we get David up here and Mike up here, again, and I said this earlier, let's give a round of applause for the Palace Theater, for Jeff, for JT, for Mike over there, making this happen. Because this is not an easy endeavor to do whatsoever. To be able to get these movies on 35mm, to get this talent out here, to meet all you great folks, I mean, this is something special, something you might never ever get a chance to be a part of again. How many were here for Texas Chainsaw Massacre earlier? Yeah. You never really realize how gritty that film is, but not really too bloody. Everyone thinks it's always bloody, it's not. But when they take the fingers and you lick the fingers and goes in Grandpa's mouth, just not right so much. How many of you had dinner after that? Let's hear it. There you go. You guys are really messed up, just gonna throw that out there, folks. There's a lot coming up here at the Palace Theater. There's always great events. Folks, tell people about the Palace Theater. Tell people about what they do at Salt City. When they have events, when they have all sorts of film festivals, come out for it. Tell your friends, because guess what? Without the great folks out there right now, all you, because this light is burning my retinas right now with how bright it is, it ain't happening without you guys. And we mean that from the bottom of our hearts. I'm from New Jersey. I drove 3.5 hours to be here today, just because I care about what. Thank you. I was going to say the one solidarity clap. Thank you, sir. But I drove out there. Real quick, as we get ready, we bring up David Naughton and Mike Sutton. Folks, how many of you, raise your hands, are more than 3 hours out? Raise your hands. How about 4 hours? 5 hours? Sold to the man over there. 5, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Sold. We're going to go ahead and start this in just a minute. How many of you are excited to see American Werewolf in London on 35mm? This is pretty awesome, folks. The way it should be intended, even though with all the restoration, it looks beautiful with the transformation. Real quick before I bring over Mr. Mike Sutton, how many of you for the first time are seeing this film? Wow, we got a whole slew. Mike, you got a nice room here. Let's get to it. I'm going to turn it over to a very talented journalist, an amazing fan of horror films, and I told him I was going to introduce him, I am anyway, Mr. Mike Sutton. Let's give a round of applause.
No idea who he's talking about, but I have the microphone. So, how many people, again, can we see a show of hands? How many people have never seen American Werewolf in London? That is awesome. About half the people here. I couldn't have imagined that. David, we got a bunch of virgins. This is great. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming to Salt City Horror Fest 2017. We're all safe. All right, thank you so much for coming to the deep, dark corner of the universe known as Syracuse, David.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
It's nice to be here. I didn't know, the Mike corridor feels like, well, back in my making it days, but that's a whole other story. So.
Okay, well, we have some questions for David, and we're just thrilled to have him here. Can we give him another round of applause? This is great.
Yeah, thanks very much. Let me open just by saying, I saw a number of hands. It looks like there's probably upwards of 20 people or so that haven't seen the movie before, which is really kind of exciting for me because we don't get to see it in a 35mm print on a big screen in a movie theater, which was how it was intended to be seen. And I have to tell you, this in 1981. Our opening was in August 6th, 1981 in Times Square at the Lowe's. And it was just this cloud of marijuana smoke in the theater, a packed house, and I had my parents with me. And you can imagine, it's opening night, it's very exciting. We've got Cisco and Ebert sitting behind me. And I'm with my parents, and they're going, wow, what's that smell? I go, well, I don't know, but this is, let me try to prepare you for this movie, which is what I was trying to do to my parents. And no matter what I said, they were in total shock at the end of this film. And I would hope that maybe some of you too. You got to remember, it's 1981. John Landis is the director. Our movie poster said, "From the director of Animal House, a different kind of animal." And the idea was, they didn't want anybody thinking this was just another comedy romp or some kind of spoof, or because if you had seen The Blues Brothers or Animal House, these were comedies and musical comedies with the Blues Brothers. But this was a film that John wrote in when he was 21 years old, was probably and completely unknown, and working on a movie called Kelly's Heroes. He was a production assistant. He was working in Europe, and he got this idea about a werewolf. And so he wrote the script, and pretty much the script that was written is what we shot. What's interesting, the very first scenes that you see, how the movie opens, are the very first days of shooting. So Griffin Dunn and I are sort of, sitting in the truck, getting to know each other, and that's just one of the lucky kinds of things that happened in the course of this movie. Is we started shooting at the beginning and kind of eased our way into it, and it got more and more, horrific for us as well as for people that'll be watching it, as you will soon find out. Once we get attacked on the moors, the whole complexion of the film changes, and. Then I got a chance to work with Rick Baker, and Rick Baker was nominated. In fact, the Academy of Motion Pictures created this category of Best Makeup and Special Effects Makeup because of the 1981 films like this and The Howling were being seen by audiences for the first time with effects that had never been seen before. And Rick Baker won his first Academy Award for this film. And it's for the makeup that I wore and Griffin Dunn wore, as well as my rotting friend Jack. And you'll get a chance to see, this is, to this day, what people think of for practical makeup effects versus CGI, computer-generated graphics, and that whole discussion that people have about, which do you prefer? I should tell you that this is one of the films that they point to as far as if you want to see practical makeup, have a look at this particular movie. So I don't know if there's anything more.
Just have a few quick
questions. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Or
just have a few questions for David.
I'll tell you that one of I would say the silliest question I've ever been asked is I was in Australia last year and we had a screening, and a guy gets up and they had a mic in the audience, and the guy gets up and goes, "Could you tell me, were you the actor or the werewolf?" I had to think about that for a while. I had to think about how I was going to answer it. My initial reaction was, of course, "Sit down! Would you please sit down?" But, I tried to let them know that, I'm kind of both in this thing.
I have a question actually for you, David. You're talking about the practical effects. Can you talk about the dream sequence and the contact lenses that were made of glass that you let the wear for that?
Yeah, well, there are a couple of scenes that you'll see, and those of you that haven't seen the film, this doesn't necessarily spoil the plot or anything. Just imagine that Rick was interviewed, and we've done a couple of panels over the years, in which he said, "Yeah, I tortured these guys." There is a scene in which I'm out of the woods, and it's a dream sequence, and there are a series of dreams that are basically there because John Landis was trying to show that the character was going through some changes, first mentally, not knowing how to explain what was happening, just these nightmarish things, and these were all the preludes to actually the transformation turning into the werewolf. So there are all these weird things that are happening to him, and he can't really make sense of them. But one of them was opening my eyes out in the woods. I'm in a hospital bed out in the woods, and it's foggy, and audiences go, "What is going on here?" And it's a scare. And I have to say, watching the movie the packed theater in Times Square when it opened, and subsequently, I used to like to sneak into the back of theaters and watch people literally jump out of their seats. So I will warn you, there are a couple of good scares in this. It's just one of those things where, the transformation scene that I did was shot at the very end of the movie. We wrapped the entire film and just had the transformation to shoot. That was like a 10-hour-a-day in a makeup, if you can imagine. My call would be at like 5 a.m. pickup, go to the Twickenham studios. The entire film was shot in England. go to Twickenham Studios, sit in the makeup chair, and Rick would start, his process. And we did that for 5 days to shoot this 2 minutes of transformation. It took us 5 days to shoot. And there are other kind of cool things about it. One of the neat things is that everything you see in the film, we actually did in front of a camera. There's no trick filming, there's no, smoke and mirrors. Everything you see, we actually did. Things like being in a wolf cage. Yes, I did that, in a wolf cage. And not a lot of wardrobe in that particular scene. There's other scenes. We staged this gigantic car accident in Piccadilly Circus when we didn't even have permission to shoot in Piccadilly Circus. We pulled it off, and at like 5:30 in the morning, all these stunt guys were at every street. There were 5 streets that all converged into Piccadilly Circus, which is a big giant roundabout. And all these stuntmen with cameras mounted on buildings, on action, all just converged in and crashed into each other, and then went cut, and in like 2 minutes they just drove away. And it was like, what just happened? And you're going, did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? And sure enough, we had this crazy scene. Then they went and they did insert shots, which are, you go in and you do close-ups on another set, on another day. But the initial car accident was actually staged and stolen, a stolen scene. And there were all kinds of other cool things that just sort of came together that made this film something that we were all very proud of, and knew at the time that we were sort of catching lightning in a bottle in the sense that things were all working out in very interesting ways. The only thing that was not certain was the makeup going to look good? And Rick was very nervous about that. John was very confident in Rick, and the two of them would talk about it and storyboard all the little things that they were going to do. And it wasn't really until they got it shot and looked at the dailies afterwards that they got a chance to say, hey, it looks like this could work. The other thing, quick story I wanted to tell you about was the music, which is pretty impactful in any motion picture, of course, and particularly over the years, people have thought about this film as being, if you hear Bad Moon Rising from Creedence, you hear Moon Dance from Van Morrison or Blue Moon, anytime you think of those, or you hear those songs, at least I do, I still think about the scenes from American Werewolf in London. John got some really cool songs to put in this film at different points in the movie. And one of the things that he wanted was Cat Stevens' Moonshadow. They contacted Cat Stevens, he goes, no, werewolves exist, you can't have my song. Okay, Cat, sorry to bother you. So there you go, there you have it. I hope you have a wonderful time tonight. Thanks for coming out. God bless you. Thanks for you.
It will scare you to pieces.
From the makers of RE-ANIMATOR, From Beyond.
Without further ado, these gentlemen need no introduction whatsoever. From Beyond, RE-ANIMATOR, all the other works that have been your collaborations. Ladies and gentlemen, producer, director, Brian Yuzna, and composer, Richard Band. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And we have Emerson up here. Sit. Woo. What a good dog. Wow. If only producing cats were that good.
Only cats.
And from Rick's point of view, if only directors and producers and distributors would be so obedient.
And musicians.
Musicians.
Don't forget that.
Well, I remember seeing the orchestral recording of From Beyond score in LA after hours non-union.
That's true. It was after hours and non-union. All great union players though.
And that's a score that won lots of prizes.
That's true. That's true. Beating out at the Barcelona one. Blue Velvet, Star Trek. What were the other two? Blue Velvet, Star Trek. Aliens 2, and there was one other of 5. And the little one could. The little movie did it. That's right.
Well, you did 2 scores for that, didn't you? From Beyond, didn't you do one?
No, we didn't. No,
and you came back?
No, only the main title. We switched the main title. I did end up doing 2, maybe even 3 main titles, because when the whole thing was done, we all loved it, and everything was working, but I think all of us felt the same way. It just didn't get off with enough of a bang. It needed to start with more energy in the main title. So we went back in a couple of weeks later, or whatever it was, and redid that, and the rest is history, and it worked out really nicely. So the original end title is actually now the original main title is now the end title, and the main title, the new main title, is where it is right now. So it all worked out.
You know what? Well, let me ask you this, because the fans out there have, this has been a project that's really been a fan-supported project for years, for decades. Why has these 2 films, especially Re-Animator, had such a life decades after it's come out? Whether on 35mm, whether restored, the different versions right now that are out there on Blu-ray, why does it have such a life? I'll throw it over to you first, Brian.
I would say it's because of somebody who's not here. Stuart Gordon.
Okay.
Those are his real, he did do Dolls between that. We did Dolls. But Re-Animator was his first movie. This was someone who had spent 10 years doing theater.
Right.
So his first movie was different from most people's first movie. He knew what he was doing with actors, and also is a horror guy.
Right.
And then From Beyond, I consider it kind of his second movie in a way.
Yeah.
More than Dolls, but Dolls was definitely his movie. But I think he really was able to get everybody going in the same direction. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, I agree.
Not to say Mac Allberg, especially on From Beyond.
Right.
The photography on From Beyond might be Mac's best stuff. It's really something special. But I think it all just kind of came together.
I think it is a situation where, over the years, this troupe came together and stuck together. We did several movies together. And when I say troupe, I'm talking about starting with Stuart and Brian, of course, the writers, Jeffrey Combs, of course, Barbara Crampton. All these people went on to have nice careers and do well, and pretty much most of them started with Re-Animator.
Right.
So lots of people have followed them throughout the years, and nobody ever stood back from Re-Animator and saying, oh, that first little weird movie that I did. Everybody took a lot of pride in the movie because it really did cross a lot of boundaries. And as far as horror is concerned, it crossed a lot of boundaries in horror.
Yeah.
It was something where originally it wasn't really intentional that we put certain kinds of humor in the thing, but we ended up doing some of that. So there was a lot, when you look at that film without music, or even without effects for that matter, originally, and then the original cut that was 2.5 hours long. You look at that and you go, oh my God, people are going to love this thing. This is crazy.
You know what? The movie was never meant, Re-Animator was never meant to be as humorous as it was.
Yeah.
But it certainly was it's in the script. The script was shot. So there was an irony to it. Not a comedy, but an irony. But then certainly, of course, I always think we just had so much fun doing it.
Right.
And there was nobody to tell us what to do, because I was paying for it.
You
money. Nobody was saying, oh, you can't do that, or you can't do that. But getting to how the music works in it, after we did get to the short version, I remember you came and you said, I did a movie, I think it was Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. And you said, they didn't want any light music in it, and it really went against the movie. I think it really hurt it, and I really want to be able to do some lighter music in Re-Animator, and and I think the main scene that you were talking about is when Hill comes in with the head in the pan and he's bumping into stuff. Well, of course, we thought that was funny as hell when we were shooting it, because hey, the guy can't get his body to do what he's trying to do. But that cue, I think, told the audience that, hey, this is funny, laugh.
Well, that's the point, is when I looked at it originally, it was something that I really, really felt that there were things in the movie that were so over the line, so grotesque, so out there that people would either say, oh, this is just a bad joke, get up and walk out. But I really felt that if they were given permission to laugh along with it a little bit and say, don't take it that seriously, it's a crazy movie with a crazy Herbert West and all that, it would just give them a little bit of permission to enjoy it on that level. And that's
I remember, and I've told a number of the composers I've worked with since, that Richard would tell me that, he said, the music should tell the audience how to feel about what they're looking at.
Right.
And that's true. You need to just kind of let them know this is the intention. And a lot of of course today, most music is it's not thematic, it's kind of effects music.
Yeah.
Kind of more special effects and kind of intense. And that works to a certain degree.
Right.
Of course, I'm a fan of more thematic music. I like music that has
a theme, maybe.
If I may ask, I had heard Dennis Hill talk about the fact that, especially with Re-Animator, whenever you create a film, you want the viewer to see something that they've never seen before. And Re-Animator did that, whether it's the scene of giving head, whether it's the aspect of dealing with the syringe, which...
The theme of head giving head.
Head giving head. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Lots of movies have head.
Well, not head. But, Re-Animator especially did something that no one had ever seen before, and it really kind of caught audiences off guard. I mean, either from the aspect of the music or the aspect of being the mind behind it, having that control, which, Brian, I find very interesting the fact that there was no one really overseeing you saying, this is what you have to do. It gave that freedom for you.
Well, for example, the movie was never submitted to the NBA.
Wow.
Well, because you don't have to.
Right.
But nobody, I knew that if we put it in, they're going to try to cut out the good stuff.
A lot. Yes.
Because I've made, every other movie I've made is gone to.
Wow.
And they pretty much, whenever it starts really working, you better cut that. But I think back to your original point, I think it's at that, I don't think we were used to seeing such a good movie being a transgressive horror movie. I mean, I'm a horror fan from way back.
Right, exactly.
I'm a fan. And I know I'm a horror fan mainly because I love all genres of movies. I love every genre, but except for horror, it's got to be really a good movie. I'll watch a romantic comedy, but it's got to be a good one. But with horror, I'll watch all the shit.
Right.
I love the shit.
Yeah.
I love the bits. That's how I know that I'm a horror guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a story well told.
Wow.
Well, that's something we weren't used to.
Yeah, true. This is true. He speaks the truth.
He speaks the truth.
We're getting ready to screen it.
Well, you done now is From Beyond.
From Beyond is up first, and Re-Animator.
From Beyond was shot in Rome, Italy.
Right. Where I grew up as a child. Wow. For 12 years, 11 years. Okay.
At Dino De Laurentiis Studios, that was then Empire.
Which became Empire Films, correct.
And so it was trying to look like the U.S. So of course, what the Italian art director did was put an American flag. Don't tread on me flag when you come in. It's like when you see Canadian movies.
Yeah.
They always have flags in the oddest places. Because it's got to be the U.S. But it was also shot, just as an aside, we built one set for Dolls and From Beyond.
Wow.
So we built one house, and we shot Dolls, and then over Christmas we redid it to make it be the From Beyond house. We brought all our effects guys, Mark Shostrom, Robert Kurtzman, all these people out there, and brought Mac Albert, great PD, and of course Stuart and us and the actors. And From Beyond is, so think of that when you're watching it. This is a bunch of Italians making this movie.
Except for Dr. Pretorius. He's not Italian.
No, he's not Italian at all.
That's right.
And those Italians, for lunch, you got to give them not only a bottle of wine, but some grappa.
Do you?
So these guys are drinking all day long.
No wonder the tone of the movie is
But
so
the great thing over there is what should be adopted to make us a more civilized society, in my opinion, is when we had lunch. They had this whole commissary. You go for lunch, and it was at a 20-minute lunch. They have cooks there and everything.
All afternoon.
They bring up the pasta, they bring up the main course, and you're sitting there for at least an hour, if not more. And it's really the best way.
Something civilized.
Something very civilized.
Very civilized about that. That's right.
And it shows in the movie.
Yes, it does.
You can look at the monsters as being indigestion.
Fair enough.
Remember, these monsters pre-CGI.
Yes.
So this stuff is tricky.
Right.
And that's one thing we've noticed, and we'll close it out with this.
I should at least mention Jeffrey Combs' great complaint.
About?
He said, I can't believe you made me wear that dog dick. I said, that was a pineal dog. It was a dog dick.
That's right. That's why, for the few of you, I think I have written on the LP, take care of the pineal glands.
Yes, dude.
Very important. I didn't write that on any of the ladies' LPs.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get the film going. We want to stay on track here. Richard Mann, Brian Yuzna. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. From Beyond, we're going to go one after the next. Thank you everyone for coming out to Salt City and enjoying it. Sorry, I'm JP from HorrorHappens.com. Guys, enjoy the show.
The band is leaving the house.
Herbert West is at the top of his class in medical school.
How can you teach such drivel? These people are here to learn, and you're closing their minds before they even have a chance.
He's brilliant, but a little weird.
I've broken the 6 to 12 minute barrier. I've conquered brain death.
His experiments have always been unorthodox.
It was dead.
But lately they're getting out of hand. And he's just made a discovery that could wake up the dead.
Herbert West has affected reanimation in dead animal tissue.
What are you thinking? How do you feel? You? 15 cc's of reagent being administered.
Once you wake up the dead, you've got a real mess on your hands.
happened? I had to kill him! He's dead? Not anymore.
Herbert West brought a lot of dead people back to life, and not one of them showed any appreciation. H.P. Lovecraft's classic tale of horror, Re-Animator.
Mr. West. You'll never get credit for my discovery. Who's going to believe a talking head get a job in a sideshow?
It will scare you to pieces.
Every journey begins in the mind. A flight of imagination. A vision of what might lie across the universe. Or within the deepest regions of the subconscious. Dr. Edward Pretorius is about to embark on such a journey.
It's out of control. You've got to turn it off. Something's coming. What the hell is that?
I'm going to kiss you.
Let it happen, Crawford.
Humans are such easy prey. From the makers of Re-Animator, From Beyond